My name is Hymenot Bayabil, and I'm an assistant professor at the Tropical Research and Education Center. Today, I'm going to walk you through the different steps that would allow you to set up a smart timer for your irrigation system. Before that, I will briefly describe the major components of an irrigation infrastructure that we have here at the Tropical Research and Education Center. We have a turf irrigation and nutrient management experiment. Um, so the research plots that we have here have their own dedicated pump. As you can see, this is our pump, and this is a pressure tank that allows you to regulate the pressure and ensures uh, um, constant pressure in your irrigation system. And so another advantage of this pressure tank is that it will allow your pump to rest when there is enough pressure, in a way that your pump will be always open, as you can see here, but the pump will turn on when pressure drops. That's an advantage, and that way you will have a longer life for your pump. So once water is lifted through from the groundwater with this pump, it goes through this. There is a pipe underground here, and we have a valve here. This valve is useful when we want to cut water uh, before it gets into all the research plots. So when we have maintenance or some leakage issue and we want to cut water from getting to our fields, we can do it from here. So it can now I just shut it, and if when I open it back, I have to twist it manually. It's a manual valve, but it's useful. So we have underground pipes here. Another component we have is irrigation component is a filter, which is useful to filter sand or other debris from getting into our irrigation systems and making problems like clogging, so on and so forth. We have a pressure gauge to monitor the pressure of the water. Once water gets in here, as you can see, we have several pipes here. Each pipe has its own dedicated valve, its own meter, and its own pressure gauge. What we do here is we have 8 zones here, 8 valves, and another 8 over there. So these 8 zones uh, are dedicated to 8 research plots, which means that when I open this valve, only one plot will get water. And we will know how much water we apply from the water meters, and we will monitor the pressure in our zone valve. So the question is, how can we control these valves independent of one another? So as you can see, these valves have 2 wires. Uh, so these wires need to be connected to a smart timer. One wire will be connected to a common wire, which I will show you later in a bit. Another wire will be connected to a zone valve or a dedicated zone valve. Uh, this setup has been left idle for a while, and as you can see, the wires are tangled. We're trying to repair all the system, uh, uh, but it should be okay for today's demonstration. So the next thing I will walk you through is how to unbox and set up a smart timer. And let's go over there. So as I told you, these plots are primarily for research, and currently we're about to start a project with the objective of evaluating the performance of different smart timers that are available on the market. This project, we are working with the Miami-Dade Extension and Miami-Dade Water and Sewer Department. They have a rebate program, and they want to know the best timer that's available for their program so that they can recommend homeowners. This is from Rainbird, this is Weathermatic, this is Hunter, this is Racho, but I'm gonna open up a brand new timer from the box and walk you through how you can set up the whole system. The timer we have today is the ESP4 SMTE version. This is the timer, a new timer, just right out the box. So this timer comes with 4 zones. The lower 4 are for your zones, but it can be expanded up to 22 zones. To do that, you need a module, something like this one. This is a zone expansion module. It can handle up to 6 zones. And if I need to expand my timer for 10 zones, from 4 to 10, I need to add an expansion module. And to do that, you put it at unlock position, push it, and then lock it. Now your timer will be able to handle up to 10 zones. In addition, this timer comes with a weather station, its own weather station. This weather station measures rainfall and temperature, and you have a chance to connect this weather station with your timer and set up a threshold rainfall amount, so that when that threshold rainfall amount is met, your timer will bypass irrigation events. So you are conserving water by bypassing irrigation events when there is enough moisture. So the first thing we will do is mounting the timer on a wall or something like that. To do that, I will take this thing off, detach this, okay. The first thing you need to do is just drill all right, this is good, and I'm gonna hook my timer from the back through here. Yeah, so you need 3 more screws you need to put so that your timer will be tightly attached to the wall. And one thing you need to make sure is you need to use a leveler so that your timer is level, but just for this demonstration, I'm gonna just go ahead and put Yeah, so you need to do two more, but as I said, since this is for demonstration, I will leave it like that. I'm gonna attach this back. So one thing you need to know is that you need to identify uh, which wire is neutral, which wire is ground, which wire is hot wire. And in this case, white is neutral, green is ground, black is hot wire. So I will connect green with green. Let me scan it a little bit. Green with green. Since I don't have white, I'm gonna connect blue with white. Don't need to do that. And black with brown. All right, let's plug to a power source, and yeah, our timer is now on, but it needs to be configured. But the next thing that we will be doing is connecting our timer with the zone valves, and for that we will use this new wire. Need to skin this. So I have several wires, 7 wires. I'm gonna set up this timer with 3 zones, so I will need 4 wires for that. How this thing will work is that I will use one of the wires for common, and there's 3 wires for my zones. So skin this. So I can just pick whatever I want for common and zone valves, but I have to make sure that I know the wires I use here. So I'm gonna use green for my common wire. So common should go here, this spot. Just unscrew and need to slide it through and tighten back. So my green is connected now. When I use yellow for my zone 1 here, slide it through, tighten back, and blue for zone 2. And red will be my zone 3. So Everything is connected. I don't need this for now. If I need more zones, I can use them, but for now, green is common wire. Let me take a picture so that I will know my wiring. Okay, we are done here. Let me unplug this case. Let's go back to the connectors. So as I mentioned earlier, we have 8 zones here, but I'm gonna connect with 3. Since so I'm gonna connect this one, and these 3. So green is my common wire, yellow is my first zone, blue is second zone, and orange is third zone. Gonna put those back. Okay, let me connect the common wire first. So if you remember, the common wire need to be connected all your zone valves. If you have 8, all the 8 zones need to be connected your common wire. Since we will be working with 3 only, I need to get 3 wires, 1 from each valve, and connect it to my common wire. These wires don't have polarity, so it doesn't matter which wire you pick. I'm gonna connect this together. Alright, now my common wires are connected. The next step is connecting my zone wires. So yellow is my first zone, so if this is my first zone, I have to connect the second wire from this valve with the zone valve on the timer. If this is my first, then I have to do that. But now let's go with this as first. Gonna connect that. And blue is 2. I'm gonna connect that. And orange is 3. Alright, now all my zones are wired, connected with the timer. The next step is setting up and configuring the timer itself. So let me connect this back. So with the new timer, the first thing that you need to do is set the date and time. So now our timer is saying October 19, 2020, 4:01 p.m., which is correct. But if you wanna adjust that, let's say October is now blinking, which means I can change the month. If I press this now, November, December, January, but to go back, minus here October. October is fine. If I press next, now the date is blinking. If it was, let's say, October 20, you can increase the date here, go back, October 19, next, the year is blinking. Similarly, you can go up and down using either the minus or the plus sign. 2020 is fine. Next, now my hour is blinking, and I can go to 5, 6, go back 4. If it's AM, I have to keep going. Now it switched to AM. Four. Okay, next. The minute is fine. Now our time and date is set, and I have to dial to configure controller. So when you use you have two options here. One is you can enter the zip code, or if you have your own data, custom data, you can provide your timer with custom data. The zip code would allow the timer to gather some necessary information from the internet, but if you have the needed data, you can choose that. But for our case, I'm gonna select zip code. We are located at 33031. I'm gonna next, 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 and then I need to confirm yes. So the second is the watering days. The first is no restriction, like you can irrigate every day if you want, or on days of your choice. The second is by day of the week, like every Monday, every Wednesday, or so on and so forth, or even days of the week, the second, the fourth, the sixth, odd days of the week. You have a lot of options. So let's say let's go with no restriction for now. I select that, and the next is that if you want to block specific days from irrigation, like let's say you chose every second, fourth, and sixth day, and then if you don't want to irrigate every Tuesday, you can block it, even though it's on even day. If it's on Tuesday, if you choose this option, that will allow you to add a second layer of restriction for irrigation events. We don't need to select any days as restriction. Now you have to provide a watering window, like for irrigation event. Like in South Florida, it's you're not allowed to irrigate between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and you might have a specific time period that your irrigation to happen. So for example, here the first irrigation is set between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Let me reduce the 10 a.m. back to 9:45, 9:15, 9 a.m. Let's set it between 6 and 9 a.m. Next, second, like if you want to have multiple irrigation events during the day, you can choose second, uh, and you can provide the time window during which the second irrigation event will happen. So now I chose it off. If I want, I can make it on. If I turn it on, it asks me the window, but I'm gonna stay with off. And then next. This is another time window for the blocked days, like as I said, like every even days. But if you want to restrict the second layer, uh, uh, like for specific days of the week, then you can provide the time period for those block days. I'm gonna next. This is an option that will allow you to stop irrigation when you have enough rainfall. As I mentioned earlier, this timer can be connected to a weather station, which we will do it after we finish setting up the timer itself. What happens is you provide a threshold of rainfall amount, and when that threshold is met, irrigation will be bypassed. Now it's set at 0.2 inch. So what the timer is asking me right now is, okay, if 0.2 inch of rainfall is measured, for how many days I want the timer to skip irrigation. Now it's for 2 days. I can make it for 3 days if I think that 0.2 inch of rainfall will be enough for 3 days, or I can make it only just 1 day. Let me leave it for 2 days now. Next, this is the threshold, like 0.2. I can make it 0.5. I can make it 0.1 inch for rainfall threshold to trigger that irrigation bypass. So everything is set now. It's asking me to check if everything is fine. That's fine. And the next is dial to input zone information. So we have 3 zones, and we need to set up the each zone separately. The idea of having a zone is for our specific purpose. It's turf under similar condition, but if you have different crops that have different water requirement, grass with shrub, that's the whole point of having an irrigation zone. So that's why you need to set up each irrigation zone independently. So I'm gonna set up my first zone here. Zone setup is blinking. I say no, next, and then it's asking me zone 1. It's enabled. If I don't want zone 1 to, if I wanna go to zone 2, I can increase, but let's stay with zone 1 now. And then I next, then now it's enabled. Zone 1 is wired, it should be enabled, but if it was not wired, I can keep it off here, but I will enable it. Next, so it's asking me the soil type under zone 1. Sand soil, loamy sand, sandy loam, clay, so on and so forth. So having information about your soil type is important. I'm gonna choose sandy soil. Sand is blinking. Next. Now the next is about your irrigation system, the sprinkler. What kind of a sprinkler do you have? Is it a sprinkler? Is it drip? Is it point source drip? So we have a sprinkler, pop-up sprinkler, so I will choose sprinkler. Next. So it's asking me when I would like to irrigate. So during daily watering windows, I choose that. And since I chose a sprinkler, it's asking me the sprinkler head type, like is it a spray, rotors, bubblers, so on and so forth. We have a sprays. Select it's asking me the application rates of my sprinkler. Now it's set at 1.25 inch per hour. That means my sprinkler is applying 1.25 inches of water per hour. Let me leave that. Let me put that to 1.5. And then next, the slope. Is it flat? Is it a little bit sloppy? Very sloppy? You choose the slope. Now it's between 0 to 2 degrees. Pretty much it's flat, so I will leave it as it is. And next, so the timer is asking me to choose a soak time, like the when you have soil that does not absorb water quickly, you need to have a soak time, like between irrigation, like the sprinkler applies water for 5 minutes and stops and let the soil soak, the water soak in the soil, and then applies the remaining amount. So now it's set at 20 40 minutes soak time period. It irrigates for 4 minutes and it soaks for 40 minutes. I can reduce that depending on the soil. For example, here the soil doesn't need a longer soak period, so obviously I can reduce it to just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that. And plant type, is it grass, is it desert plant, is it mixed planting? So this will give you the option to choose your specific plant type. We have grass, I will leave it like that. If you from grass, within grass itself, what kind of grass? Is it a warm season? Is it a cool season? So warm season, the root depth, how deep is the root? If it's a newly established grass, maybe the roots are not well developed, and now it's 10 inch. I can put it, this grass has been here for several years. I'm gonna put it at 18 inch. Next, is it exposed to full sun, fully exposed, or is it under shade? Like here I have full sun, 25% shade, 50% shade, 75% shade, 100% shade. I'm gonna choose full sun. Refill point, like how far should I let my water in the soil deplete before I trigger the next irrigation event. So since we provided the timer soil type, based on that soil information, it kind of estimates the available water holding capacity of that soil, and 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 it will also give you an option to set threshold. Like you don't want to let your soil to dry all the way to 0, because if you do that, your plants will die and will not even revive even if you apply irrigation. So usually the rule of thumb is 50% of available, when 50% of available water is depleted, you need to irrigate. So now it's 50%, but if I want to drop this to, let's say, 40%, I can put it 40%. So next, is it established? Is the new planting? It's established here. Next. So now I'm done with my first zone. I'm gonna do the same with second zone, and for the second zone I will need to answer similar questions, so we don't need to repeat that. So now all our zones are set up. Let's test them. To do that, let's manually water them. So let me choose water all zones. Even if I choose water all zones, this timer will not open all the 3 zones at once. Just that's because not to make any problem due to flow rate and pressure. So it waters 1 zone at a time, and when it's done with 1 zone, it moves to the next zone. But I choose water all zones, then I select that, and for how many minutes? I can provide like the same length for all the zones. Like for example, 1 minute. That means all the 3 zones will turn on for 1 minute, or I can provide different times for different zones. So let's put 2 zones next. Now zone 1 is working now here. All right, hopefully the second zone will start. Yes. That one is shooting like it was supposed to be 90 degrees, but where is the third? All right. This one, but I thought this. Just tested our timer, it's working perfectly, or our zones are working. And as I said at the beginning, this specific timer comes with a weather station that measures rainfall and temperature. So I'm gonna quickly walk you through how we can connect man ፍጹም how we can install the weather station and connect it to the timer. So the first thing we need to do is we have to make it level, but just usually weather stations are installed at 2 meters. What? Can you hold this? Hold this. Just give me the. Okay. Usually at 2 meters, but just I'm gonna. Can you go that side? You don't need to. You don't need to. Hope we'll edit that. So we have to make this like 90 pretty much. So this will slide through here, but we have to wire it first. So the wires go here. This is the wire that comes with the timer, the weather station. And doesn't have any polarity, so you just slide it through these two, press and let go. Now this is tight, and press, push, let go. This is tight. So we have to put this back and tighten this. And put this so this should be tightened very well. Alright, so now as you can see from the old weather stations, this needs to be buried in the ground and connected to the timer. Oh, there is a screen for your weather rain gauge that goes on the top. This goes here, comes underground. Again, it doesn't matter about the color of the wire. You press this, one of these, slide it through, press, slide through, and let go. Press, push, let go. Now our timer is connected to a weather station that measures rainfall and temperature, and we have set up the timer to suspend irrigation when there is 0.2 inch of rainfall. So this is how you set up a smart timer